This is a 40-ton giant log, and the question is how on earth a lumberjack can drag it down from a mountain. Vancouver Island in Canada is a place full of valleys, steep ridges, and forests so lush and dense that it feels almost impenetrable. It also happens to produce some of the best timber in the world, though the environment itself is unforgiving and dangerous. Kevin, a determined logger, has chosen this very location to run his operations and keep his family's business alive. Early in the morning, at nearly 5,250 feet above sea level, he heads into the steepest stretches of woodland where high-quality cedar and cypress grow. The risks are enormous, which is why very few people dare to cut trees here. Yet Kevin has already invested $1.5 million to buy this forest, and before the snow arrives, he must somehow harvest and transport 200 truckloads of timber down the mountain. The stakes are clear. If he fails, he will drown in debt. But if he succeeds, the reward could reach millions of dollars in income. Coleman, Kevin's right-hand man, straps on his iron-studded boots and joins Gordon in searching for valuable cedar, while Greg drives the stacker and secures the ropes that will drag each massive trunk downhill. Cedar is especially prized in construction for its strength and durability, making it the most valuable wood in this forest. But the mountain trails are treacherous. Newcomers often find them almost impossible to walk. Coleman and Gordon tie ropes around the giant trunks, and the winch roars as it begins pulling a log nearly 60 feet long toward the collection point. That single log alone is worth about $30,000, provided it arrives intact and undamaged. Kevin tries to use the loader to lift it, but the timber is far heavier and more awkward than expected. 2 failed attempts later, the crew finally manages to stabilize it and transport it away. The sawmill is just over a mile away, run by Kevin's wife, Sarah. This is where the logs are transformed into cash, but in order to cut costs, Kevin has filled the yard with second-hand machines. Sarah is less enthusiastic. There's hardly any space left at home, and Kevin still wants to buy more gear. Their son Eric has become a skilled mechanic, constantly repairing the old equipment that his father brings in, often shaking his head at what he sees as unnecessary purchases. Back at the transfer station, Kevin sorts the logs, while a potential buyer named Perry arrives to inspect the timber. For Kevin, this deal could mean survival. Perry scrutinizes every log, pointing out defects and pushing for a lower price. After tense negotiation, they settle on $2,800 per cubic meter, a rate that will provide enough cash flow to ease immediate pressure. Meanwhile, Coleman and Gordon struggle with another monster log, 40 tons of stubborn wood, lodged deep in the ground. The rope slips, the log digs itself in, and danger looms as it threatens to roll. Fortunately, the team evacuates quickly, avoiding what could have been a deadly accident. Exhausted but alive, they decide to call it a day, knowing tomorrow will bring the same brutal challenges. The next morning, Kevin resolves to tackle the enormous log by splitting it. First, they cut a crack, then drive wedges deep into the heart of the trunk. It's a dangerous gamble, but to their relief the split is clean. Only a quarter breaks off, yet the quality is excellent, and the value of the timber is preserved. Each usable section still weighs more than 35 tons, heavy enough to demand every ounce of strength and coordination from the crew. Piece by piece, sweating and straining, they maneuver the timber down. Back at Perry's facility, the first load is delivered and inspected. Kevin waits anxiously as Perry saws into a log to test its quality. If the wood is good, the deal will be secured. If not, Kevin may be forced to sell at steep discounts to multinational corporations. The verdict is positive, the logs are sound, and Perry agrees to long-term cooperation. Kevin can finally breathe. The looming debt crisis is eased, though the grind is far from over. On the mountain, work continues. Logs must still be cut and hauled, every delivery a small victory in the fight to keep the business alive. The 40-ton monster, that once seemed impossible to handle, has been conquered, and as the sun dips behind the ridges of Vancouver Island, Kevin and his crew know only one thing for certain. The good ones are worth fighting for, and tomorrow they will return to the forest to do it all over again.